then we are going to proceed. Om Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kansajanurmardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru.
Jai Shree Krishna. We are talking about chapter 16, slok 24. And the chapter itself is on divine and the demoniac. And at the beginning of the chapter of slok 24, reference is made to chapter 15. So I glance at that particular verse where it is mentioned there are two classes of living beings, the fallible and the infallible. You see, the demoniac and the divine, and here we are talking about the fallible and the infallible, so appropriate. So in the fallible, it's in the material world, and every living being is fallible. Every living being is fallible. And in the spiritual world, and the body is not made of material, is not made of matter. So therefore there is no beginning, no end, no birth, and no death in the spiritual world. So there is no fallibility there, infallible. So, and also it is mentioned that every living being, good to know, is eternally, and I look at the word very carefully, eternally separated but eternally as part and parcel of Bhagavan. That's very important. And those who are in oneness are called infallible. That is, and we will see in verse 24 how we reach that. It's very good, the prelude and the build up to that. And how the fallible, those we human beings, we are guided, we are controlled in the maya, the jal of five senses, the mind and the five senses. So this is where the fallibility comes in. Now, in the chapter 16, verse 24, the starting of the chapter 16, we start with the qualities, the divine qualities, and there are 26 divine qualities, and we went through that very carefully. And then when we go on, let's come to the verse 24. Here we talk of what is duty and what is not duty. You see, the fallible, to come to the stage of liberation, what should we do? And all this is explained in the chapter 16, the steps. And it says what is duty and what is not duty. So again, it says there are scriptural rules and regulations to follow. And there are scriptural injunctions not to do certain things. That's very interesting. So it's just like our living, our life today. If we are going on the road, there are rules and regulations to follow. If we want to reach safely to our destination, similarly, if we want to reach our liberalization, we have to follow the scriptural rules and regulations and do what is to be done and avoid what is not to be done. This is the culmination of verse 24, which is the summary of the whole. Jai Shri Krishna.
So, Jai Shri Krishna. So, very nice expose of Bhayaji. Last time we arrived at the text 16, where Lord Krishna is explaining that the soul being absorbed in materialism, he goes further and further down, until he experiences hellish condition. Now, text 70 says that the person becomes stubborn after wealth, after false prestige, and he performs sacrifices which are avidhi purvakam, which are against, which are not prescribed in the Vedic texts, in the Shastra. And they, in the text 18, it explains that they take shelter of ahankar. They develop bal, strength, false strength to do abominable action. They develop darpanam, pride. They develop krodha, anger, and they become envious of God, who is situated in their heart. And God is situated in our hearts. This is explained in chapter 18, text 61. Ishvaraha sarva bhutanam hridesherjuna tishtati. God is seated in everyone's heart, in every living entity's heart. Now, so they go against the injunctions of Shastra, they go against God's will. In the text 19, Lord Krishna goes on to explain that they are cast into mischievous beings and become lowest amongst men. And they go into various demoniac species. In text 20, we learn again, we'll further learn that they take repeated birth. They go into repeated birth and death, and they never approach God. Aprapya, prapt nahi karte. They don't achieve God. And adhamam gatim, they go into the most abominable existence. In text 21, we learn that there are 3 gates leading to hell. Kam, krodha, lobha. Kam is lust, krodha is anger, and lust is greed. All these 3 qualities, they lead to the degradation of Atma. And of course, intelligent man should give up these 3 gates which lead to hell. In text 22, Lord Krishna further explains that he who has escaped these 3 gates leading to hell, they perform karma which gradually elevates them, elevates their Atma. Achar rati atmanha shreyaha tatah yati param gatim. Thereafter, they go to the supreme destination. What is supreme destination? Lord Krishna explains this in chapter 15, text 6. Natad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatva na nivartante tadhama paramamama. That supreme destiny, that supreme abode of mind is not illuminated by the sun, the moon, or by fire. It is self-luminous, and whoever goes there then never comes back again. Tad dhama paramamama, that supreme abode of mind. Nanivartanti. Nanivartanti means it doesn't come back again. Text 23 now. So we should go according to Shastra Vidhi. But those who do Shastra Vidhim Utsrijya, those who go against the injunctions of Shastra Vidhi, they remain acting in lust. Vartate kama karataha, they remain acting in lust. So they attain no perfection, they attain no happiness, na param gatim, they attain no liberation, they do not attain the supreme destination. So, as a conclusion, Lord Krishna says in text 24, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Karya Karyam Vyavasthatau Jnatva Shastrama Vidhane Tam Karma Kartumihar Hasi. So therefore, Tasmat, therefore, the Shastras give us evidence, they give us praman that what duty should be done and what duty is forbidden. So we should go according to the injunctions of the Shastra, after knowing which we can elevate ourselves and finally get liberation.
This is the 17 that came. If you get it, it said as Ajay and yourself, you said, well, self-conceited, stubborn, filled with pride and intoxication of wealth, these people, that is, the demoniac, perform sacrifices in the name out of ostentation, just to attract attention, contrary to what is prescribed in the scriptures. Atma sambhavita stabdha dhanamana madana vidaha yajante nama yakyaste tambe nami tipurvakam. That is said in 17. And in the next flow, if I get time, I'll just go quickly. So, given over to egoism, power, haughtiness, lust, and anger, which again you have said it, these people hate me. Now, he hate me, Bhagwan says, me meaning himself, because Bhagwan is in everybody, is in them and in others. So when they're doing that, they're going against him, that is Bhagwan Lord Krishna, who is present in them as well as in other people. So this is because they ignore that they are doing that. And then in the next one, these cruel haters, worst among the men in the world, I hurl them, those evildoers, into the wombs of demons only. So in the 20th, he said, when they come into these demoniacal wombs, deluded birth after birth, they will never attain me, and thus they follow Arjuna to the condition still lower than that. We did it last time, isn't it? Those who are tamasic, they remain tamasic, and they go lower and lower down the ladder. This is what it said. And the next one that we did in 21, as you said, how big people become that type, like a demoniac. There are three things that they have. The three gates, of this hell of becoming a demoniac person. Somebody of such a character comes out principally through three gates: that's the lust, the anger, and the greed. Therefore, one should abandon these. Okay, so triple is the gate of this hell, destructive of the lust of the self. By this, it means that the lust, anger, and greed, when you have this, you become this category of people, demoniac. And when you become demoniac, what you are doing? You're destroying your own, the self itself inside you. Then, in the following verse, in 22, you say, Etera mukta kaunteya Tamodware stri bhir naraha acharat yatmanaha sheyasto yati param gatim. A man who is liberated from these three gates of darkness, that is lust, greed, and anger, Arjuna practices what is good for him and thus goes to the supreme goal. So this is the only way for anybody to do that is to get out of this hell, that is abandon the three gates, lust, greed, and anger are the three main causes of somebody becoming demoniac. So this is how to do that. We'll explain it in the next slope rapidly. You say that na shastra vidhi mrityucha vartate kama karatah na sasiddhamavapnoti na sukham na parangatim. He who, having cast aside the ordinances of scripture, act under the impulse of desire. If you're not following the scripture, then you are going to act as anger, will have all these incapacities that a person who is demoniac has. So he will never attain perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme goal. And therefore, what is recommended in the 24, in the next slow, says that let the scripture be thy authority, like Shruti that you have. Because the Shruti is just like the mother. The mother will always teach you the right thing to do. It will always compel you not to do something wrong. So the scriptures that we have, the Upanishads that we have, the Veda, the Gita that we have, these are our guide, these are our authority. Therefore, let the scripture be thy authority in determining what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, both of them. Having known what is said in the ordinance of the scripture, thou shalt act here in the world. This is the recommendation from Bhagwan of what house we should be acting. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjun Samvade Devasura Sampadvi Bhaga Yogo Nam So Dashu Adhyaya Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Thus in the Upanishads of the glorious Bhagavad Gita, the science of the eternal, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends the 16th discourse entitled the Yoga of Division between the Divine and the Demonic. So this